Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
I turned the vehicle to face south on Sheridan and observed a large crowd of people. There was a lot of screaming, yelling. There was appeared to be a person laying in the roadway up ahead of us. There was active gunfire throughout the entire city. There was still sounds of gunfire taking place, and we received reports of injured people that needed assistance in approximately a 6300 block of Sheridan Road.
It was August 25th, 2020, and the city of Kenosha, Wisconsin had erupted into chaos. What had started off as protests over the police shooting of 29-year-old Jacob Blake had turned into buildings being damaged, cars being burned, and now there were apparent casualties. The call came in as a shots fired call. Officer Pep Moretti with the Kenosha Police Department was in a patrol car at the time, and as he drove into the scene, he realized he wasn't properly protected with the equipment they had. He reversed his patrol car to let the armored vehicles that were behind him through. As he was doing that, an unknown white male approached.
He had a rifle that was slung and somehow attached to his body. He had his hands somewhat similar to this, and he was approaching us in the roadway toward the front of our patrol vehicle. My partner and I, Officer Krieger, gave him multiple commands to get out of the roadway and step to the side so we could proceed and try to get to where we'd observe people ahead in the roadway that needed assistance.
He had no idea at the time that the unknown male they were trying to move out of the way was the shooter. Fast forward to November 2nd, 2021, to a courthouse in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where Assistant DA Michael Binger gave opening statements on behalf of the state.
The evidence in this case will show that on the night of August 25th, 2020, here in our community of Kenosha, the defendant, Kyle Rittenhouse, who was 17 years old at the time, had armed himself with an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle loaded with 30 rounds in the magazine. And using that rifle, he shot and killed Joseph Rosenbaum, an unarmed man. The shot that killed Mr. Rosenbaum was a shot to the back. This occurred after the defendant chased down Mr. Rosenbaum and confronted him while wielding that AR-15. The evidence will show that the defendant fled the scene of the dead body of Joseph Rosenbaum without stopping to offer any aid whatsoever.
Prosecutor Binger said that as Kyle Rittenhouse was running away from the scene, word spread that there was an active shooter, and the citizens there attempted to stop him, he said.
They approached the defendant. One person hits him in the back of the head. One person takes a swing at him with a skateboard. That individual is Anthony Huber. Eventually, the defendant loses his balance and falls to the ground. An individual who is the subject of count number 2, the unknown individual, runs in at that point and attempts to kick the defendant in the face while the defendant is on the ground. This unknown individual is unarmed. The defendant, in response, points his AR-15 directly at this individual as this individual is literally flying over his body and discharges that gun twice. Luckily, that individual was not hit. But clearly, if he had been hit, the wound would have been severe and perhaps even fatal. Immediately after that, Anthony Huber, who is holding a skateboard, comes in and reaches for the defendant's gun. He grabs hold of the gun and tries to pull it away from the defendant. The defendant is wearing his AR-15 strapped to his body. There is a nylon strap around his entire body, and the gun is slung from that. So it is essentially attached to him. Mr. Huber's efforts are unsuccessful because of that strap. And in that struggle, the gun winds up pointed directly at Mr. Huber's chest. The defendant pulls the trigger one time and discharges a round into Mr. Huber's chest, killing him instantly.
He said a final individual by the name of Gage Grosskreutz had followed this chase on foot and approached Kyle too.
Mr. Grosskreutz is holding his cell phone that he'd been using to record the night's events for a live stream on Facebook in one hand, and a Glock semi-automatic pistol in the other hand. He runs up to the defendant. The defendant turns towards him with the AR-15. Mr. Grosskreutz raises his hand. The defendant then turns his rifle over, begins to examine it for a second. Mr. Grosskreutz takes this opportunity, and you will see in the photos and the videos, that he blades his body with his left hand, reaching towards the defendant. His right arm is pulled back. This is the one with the gun in his hand. And as he's reaching for the defendant turns the AR-15 and discharges the eighth and final round into Mr. Grosskreutz's right arm, the arm with the gun.
He said Gage Grosskreutz then ran off, screaming for a medic. Kyle got up and walked away.
On that night, he killed 2 unarmed people, shot at a third at very close range, and wounded Mr. Grosskreutz in the arm, who was armed with a gun. It is the state's position that this evidence demonstrates the criminal charges against the defendant, his intentional homicide of Anthony Huber and his reckless conduct towards the other defendants.
Kyle's defense attorney, Mark Richards, said the evidence will actually show something else.
You've heard the state's opening statement, and now I will give mine. We have 2 very different outlooks on the events of August 25th of 2020.
He said Kyle was in Kenosha on August 24th, staying with a friend. He saw on live streams and on the news what was happening in Kenosha that night. He saw cars being burned and destroyed, looting that was going on, and other businesses being burnt down. The next morning, he went downtown to look at the damage and to help clean up. He and his friends decided they would help protect the property that night at a company called CarSource.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence will show, in spite of what the media and public statements and things like that have been, the evidence will show that Kyle Rittenhouse had strong ties to Kenosha. His father lived in Kenosha. His mother lived in Antioch, Illinois. Kyle worked here in Kenosha County at the Recplex in Pleasant Prairie as a lifeguard. He went downtown to clean up the graffiti. Him and Nick left there, and they decided to come back that evening and help CarSource Lot 2, which is at 59th and Sheridan, and initially CarSource 3 at 60th and Sheridan.
He told the jury that they will see for themselves in video and photographs what happened that night, but that ultimately, what this case will come down to isn't a whodunit or when did it happen.
It was Kyle Rittenhouse's actions privileged under the law of self-defense. That is, that the defendant believed that there was an actual or imminent unlawful interference with his person. The defendant believed that the amount of force which he used or threatened to use was necessary to prevent or terminate the interference, and that his belief was reasonable.
It's a case that has people divided all over the country. Would it do the same to the jury? a 17-year-old armed with an AR-15, a city in chaos, ending with the deaths of 2 people. This is Jillian, and in partnership with Law and Crime, you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 180.
Now, what I've just given you is the snapshot, but there's a wider context here. As we all discussed yesterday, this occurs during the context of the events following the shooting of Jacob Blake, which occurred on Sunday night, August 23rd, 2020.
Jacob Blake was a 29-year-old black man who was shot 7 times in the back by a white Kenosha police officer on the Sunday before these shootings.
And we all know that within a short period of time after that, the community erupted in protests, looting, rioting, arson, and violence. Sunday night and Monday night were 2 of the roughest nights that our community has ever seen. We are well aware of the damage that the uptown area along 22nd Avenue suffered. The probation and parole office on 60th Street, the furniture business there, Car Source, one of their locations on Sheridan, and other properties around town that were damaged. Fortunately, in the entire sequence of events, this was all property damage. And one of the things we all agreed on yesterday is life is more important than property. Up until Tuesday night, despite all of the things that the community had experienced, no one had been killed.
He said as time went on, like moths to a flame, people outside their community were drawn to the chaos.
People from outside of Kenosha came in and contributed to that chaos. And it caused many of our citizens to fear for their safety, fear for their homes and their families, fear for their businesses, and take steps to protect themselves, whether it is to arm themselves, board up their windows, move, or take time away from the community. All of those reactions were entirely understandable and reasonable. And no one here is going to tell you otherwise.
He said, but out of the hundreds of people who came to Kenosha that week, the only person who killed anyone was Kyle Rittenhouse.
The evidence will show that hundreds of people were out on the street experiencing chaos and violence, and the only person who killed anyone was the defendant, Kyle Rittenhouse. We will show you videos of some of the events that night, of police, tear gas, rubber bullets, and yet the only person who killed anyone was the defendant. There are fireworks going off, which is a loud noise, sounds like gunfire. There are guns being discharged, the sound of gunfire throughout our community that night. Hundreds of people are there experiencing this, and yet the only one who kills anyone is the defendant. We will show you video of hostile confrontation between literally hundreds of people on one side of the issue and on the other side of the issue. People getting up in each other's faces. And yet the only person who killed anyone is the defendant.
He said there's no disputing that Kyle fired 8 bullets that night, 4 of which hit 36-year-old Joseph Rosenbaum, 2 at an unknown individual, 1 into 26-year-old Anthony Huber's chest, and 1 into 27-year-old Gage Grosskreutz' arm. He said the central issue in this case will be self-defense. Under their law, there is a privilege to use deadly force, but he said that it's limited. Kyle Rittenhouse must have reasonably believed that the force was necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm to himself. Dominic Black had known Kyle Rittenhouse for about 9 months. He was dating Kyle's sister, and they would see each other often. He would go to Kyle's mom's house in Antioch, Illinois, or Kyle would come over to his house in Kenosha, and they would hang out. He told the court that sometime in mid-2020, Kyle wanted to buy a gun, an AR-15, but he wasn't 18 yet. So they agreed that Kyle would give Dominic money and Dominic would purchase it for him. Dominic was 20. The plan was for Dominic to then keep the gun at his house until Kyle was 18. He said he and Kyle would use their guns to go shooting, but that it always remained at Dominic's house. On the morning of Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, Kyle was over at his house. Dominic, Kyle, and Dominic's brother decided to go downtown to see all the damage from the night before. They parked by a local business called CarSource, one of the locations which had been burned down, and walked around. He said every car had been burnt to ash, and there was graffiti everywhere. They saw people cleaning up the graffiti, and so they started to help by scrubbing the walls. They were there for about 2.5 hours. He said on the way back to their car, they met a man named Sam, who was the owner of CarSource. Sam told them that one of his buildings had been burned down and that he would be in big financial trouble if any of his others burned. They exchanged phone numbers in case Sam needed any help later. Dominic told the court that due to all the riots, his dad had taken a bunch of their guns out of their safe and had stashed them inside their house in case someone broke in. He said Kyle's gun was one of those guns.
Do you know how the defendant took possession of it that day?
I do not. All I'm aware of is that it was downstairs.
When did you first see the defendant with that weapon that day?
When I was in the kitchen. So about, I want to say a few hours before we left.
And tell us what you saw when you were in the kitchen.
I saw him coming up the stairs with it.
With the AR-15?
Yes.
Did you hear him ask you permission to take that gun?
No.
Did you hear him ask permission from your father?
No.
He said Kyle set the gun down on the table and started looking for medical supplies, bandages, and rubbing alcohol. He said he wanted to take them in case someone was hurt downtown that night. When they got downtown, they met up with another friend, Nick Smith, and went to one of the CarSource locations. They met with the brother of the owner of CarSource, and he dropped them off at another one of their CarSource locations. Dominic said both he and Kyle were strapped with their guns. Their objective was to protect the business. He said a lot of people they didn't know later came to help out too. Many of them weren't from the area.
What was going to be the plan for that night?
The plan was to have a decent amount of us split up between the two locations and then kind of stay there to make sure nothing bad happened.
Which location were you going to go to?
The one closest to Ruther.
The one up at 59th?
Yes.
What about the defendant?
He was going with me.
So the two of you were going to be assigned to protect the 59th Street CarSource?
Yes.
Was there another group that was going to be assigned to guard the 63rd Street CarSource?
Yes.
Do you know who any of those people were?
No.
He said he decided to go up onto the roof, where he figured it would be safer. He was asked why he brought his gun.
In case something bad did happen and I needed to protect myself.
When you say something bad happened, what were you worried about happening?
Anything. Being shot at, somebody coming up on the roof. I mean, there's a ladder in the back, so anybody could get up. Anything.
So if someone climbed up on the roof, were you going to use that gun?
Not really. I mean, it depends what they were doing.
You talked about not wanting to be on the ground because of your concern about things happening on the ground. Did you feel that if you stayed on the ground, you would be in greater danger?
Yes.
He was asked about what he saw from the rooftop that night.
There's a lot of violence, a lot of screaming, a lot of people throwing things. You could definitely tell that people weren't just there for the reason they were. It wasn't a safe place to be at all.
He was asked if he saw anyone being injured, and he said no. At one point, he saw people hiding out behind some rocks. He said he and the other guys who were on the rooftop with him yelled at them to leave and pointed their guns at them. No shots were fired. Dominic said he stayed on the roof the entire night. At one point, he saw Kyle bring someone into the building and help bandage them up. He was asked what he remembers about the shootings that night.
I remember that one of us had received information that one of the car source dealerships was being vandalized or people were trying to burn it down. Kyle was not able to make it back to us, our location, so either me or Nick called him and told him about what was happening, and then the last I saw of him was him running towards that direction, and then from then on I just heard gunshots.
He said he didn't know the gunshots came from Kyle until he got a phone call from him. Kyle said, I shot somebody, and then hung up. After the second round of shootings, he then saw him.
Was that back at 59th Street?
Yeah, that was at the original location.
What observations, if any, did you make about the defendant when you saw him?
He was freaking out. He was really scared. He was pale, sweating a lot. You could tell he was just scared.
Did he say anything?
He wasn't really talking. He just said he had to do it. It was self-defense. People are trying to hurt him.
Did he ever say to you that someone was trying to attack him with a gun?
No.
Did he ever say to you that someone was trying to attack him with a knife?
No.
Did he ever say to you that anyone was trying to attack him with any sort of weapon?
No.
What happened after that?
After that, we kind of all tried to calm him down. There was some people yelling, but we kind of made the idea that he should turn himself in, but we couldn't do it in the one in Kenosha because there's people rioting at the front doors. So I took him home, and then we decided he should go turn himself in at the nearest police department.
When you say you took him home, did that mean you drove back down to Antioch?
Yes.
When you got down there, was anyone else at the defendant's residence?
No.
How long was it before anyone came back?
I want to say 5 to 10 minutes.
And who all came back at that point?
The rest of his family.
And that would be his mother and his two sisters?
Yes.
Was there any discussion at that time about what the defendant should do?
Leave. Get out of town.
To where?
One of their family's properties in either Michigan or West Virginia.
What was your reaction to that?
Said no, he should turn himself in.
Were you urging the defendant to not flee, but instead to go turn himself in?
Yes.
Did he follow your advice?
Yes.
He was asked if he saw any injuries on Kyle.
There was some red marks on his head, but besides that, no.
Did he say anything to you about any injuries that he suffered?
Just that his head hurt.
He was then asked to tell the jury if he's facing criminal charges for supplying the gun to Kyle.
You have talked about the fact that there was an understanding between you and the defendant that because he was 17 years old, he could not legally possess a firearm. Is that correct?
Yes.
The jury has been told, I'll represent to you, that there's a charge against the defendant in this case for possession of a weapon by someone under the age of 18. Has the person who provided the gun to the defendant, which was used to kill other people, are you facing criminal charges?
Yes.
In fact, have I not personally drafted a criminal complaint against you, charging you with 2 felony counts of providing that gun to the defendant, which were used to kill 2 separate people? Is that correct?
Yes.
And that is a case, a criminal case, that I'm prosecuting that is still pending. Is that right?
Yes.
As a criminal defendant in that case, are you aware of the fact that you have a Fifth Amendment right to remain silent and not answer any questions about any of that?
Yes.
Have you decided today to come in front of this jury and tell us the truth about everything?
Yes.
Despite your Fifth Amendment right?
Yes.
Have I made any promises to you about what might happen in your criminal case in exchange for your testimony today?
No.
Much of this trial was spent showing various videos to the jury. Most were videos from people's cell phones who were there that night, recording or live streaming the events. Corey Washington, a social media influencer who goes by Corey Elijah, provided one of those videos.
Why were you out there doing that on that particular night?
There was a lot happening in the city.
What was your purpose in trying to document that?
Just create transparency.
What do you mean by that?
when things are going on, there's a bunch of opinions. You never know, what really might happen. So people like myself tend to go out and document situations just so there's a record of things. A lot of the time, especially, media, there's sound bites and things that can be utilized. In my opinion, people like myself make things better for everyone because it helps show at least another side of the full picture.
He attended and filmed all 3 nights. He described the atmosphere on the night of Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, the 3rd night.
And how would you compare Tuesday night to the previous couple of nights?
I would say it was calmer, much calmer. The crowd was more contained. There was a march that happened. That kind of ended towards the end of the night, maybe around 6:30 or 7 or so. That ended at Civic Center Park. The conversation that was had at the end of the march was, hey, everybody remain peaceful. Go home after this if if you're seriously about, wanting change and wanting justice to go home. After that was said, people dispersed. A lot of people did go home, but there was people that didn't go home, of course. And those people that didn't go home, they kind of stayed there at Civic Center Park there until at a certain point they were kind of driven out of the park.
It was calmer, but he said it would be fair to say that there were still some violent protests between the police and protesters in front of the courthouse. Some of his footage was played for the jury from that night. In the video, you can see some people who are armed. He said at one point he saw someone who he now knows as Kyle Rittenhouse run by, fire extinguisher in hand. He said he had noticed Kyle earlier in the night.
So when I arrived on the scene, I kind of looked at the people that were there and just took a note of the people that were around me, especially, people that are armed to kind of gauge the crowd and, the environment that I was in. He just kind of looked young to me, and he had his gloves on and he was smoking cigarettes and stuff. So I kind of was like, he's kind of seemed like an interesting figure. So I just took a mental note of that. It wasn't anything, I wouldn't say malicious. I just, a young person in a situation. Honestly, I would say it was mainly the gloves. I didn't know why he had the gloves on. It kind of stood out. So I was like, all right, let me just kind of remember that, I suppose. So when he ran by, I kind of looked to the side to kind of see if there's, someone chasing him or what the situation may be. That's why I said, all right, let's see what's happening.
Corey ran in the same direction as Kyle. He wanted to see what was going on. Suddenly, in the video, you can hear a series of gunshots and see people running. The prosecutor paused the video and said the first shot was fired by a man named Josh Zeminski. He said they believe that shot was unrelated to what happened next. The following 4 shots were fired by Kyle Rittenhouse at Joseph Rosenbaum. Prosecutor Binger said that at least 3 additional shots were then fired from someone else, not by Kyle. After hearing the shots, Corey ran to a retaining wall and kept filming from behind.
We got shots fired, guys. We got shots fired.
Detective Martin Howard was one of the lead detectives in the case. He said after the shootings, photos of the shooter started to circulate on social media. He then received a call that the shooter had turned himself in to the Antioch Police Department. He went to Antioch around 1:30 in the morning and interviewed him. Kyle told him he had suffered injuries that night.
He had an approximately half-inch scratch above his left eyebrow. He had a small cut on the inside of his lower lip, slightly offset to the right. There is a approximately 2-inch scratch below his left collarbone. There was some redness to the right side of his belly button, just above his waistline. There was an approximate 2-inch scratch on his left forearm. There was some redness on his right forearm. There was some redness on the tip of his right thumb. And on his back, there was a scratch somewhere on his left side, about where the left shoulder blade would be, in that approximate area. And also there were 2 bumps on the back of his head that was approximately here, so above the left ear. Both of those injuries on his head, I could not get to turn up in the photograph because Mr. Rittenhouse has very thick hair. But with the gloved hand, I was able to feel it. And both of these bumps I would approximate to be the size of a penny. And the skin was slightly raised, and I was able to feel that with my hands.
He told the court that as part of his investigation, he went on the internet and tried to find as many videos of the incident as possible from users who had posted them, as well as Facebook live streams. He collected videos from private citizens, too, who came forward. Some of those videos were shown to the jury. One video was from the Rundown Live, which showed the area by CarSource. A few men were on the rooftop while others were on the ground walking around. On the ground is Kyle Rittenhouse and another man, later identified as Ryan Balch. Both have guns. The man filming strikes up a conversation with them. Both say they're local. They discuss how they're there to help and how they have medics, too. A little later in the video, a group of people approach the CarSource location and start yelling at the guys up on the roof, who also have guns. The man filming says they're just there to protect their property, but the yelling back and forth continues. Another guy says they're upset because one of the men with a gun pointed a laser at him. You can hear this conversation in the video.
I agree with this guy. These guys just trying to protect their property up there. Yeah, they're just trying to protect their property.
Oh, yeah, I know, but they...
Like, if that was my house and I didn't know what was going on, Yeah. Well,
that's the fucked up part. I just assumed they were like some old riders.
No, I think one of them, they clicked the laser pointer, and they're probably somebody's trying to be a copy dick.
They got the right to do that.
Yeah, I know, but it's still being a copy dick, though, you know.
That's true.
Because those things are loaded. That's not for fun. That's not for fun. That's not painful. But they got, yeah. Back to my point, not all militia should have guns, because if they're pointing lasers at people from the roof, that's not cool either. So that's what caused it.
After this clip played, the defense objected, especially objecting to the use of the word militia. The prosecution said it goes to what the scene was like that night and to Kyle's state of mind. The jury was sent out, and the judge, Judge Bruce Schroeder, ended up siding with the defense. Judge Schroeder said he saw someone in the media say that this case is the most divisive in the country. It is very important in this town and in this country for people to feel confident in this trial, he said. When the jury came back in, another portion of that video was played. Prosecutor Binger pointed out that law enforcement inside an armored vehicle could be seen handing out water to the men with the guns, saying, "We appreciate you guys. We really do." Detective Howard said he believes the armored vehicle in question was from a sheriff's department because it says sheriff on it, but he wasn't sure which one. Another video was from a private citizen who interviewed Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle tells him he was just pepper sprayed by someone in the crowd.
We're protecting from the citizens, and I just got pepper sprayed by a person in the crowd.
So you had non-lethal, but you didn't respond.
We don't have non-lethal.
So you guys are full on ready to defend the property?
Yes, we are. Now, if I can ask, can you guys step back? Medical. EMS right here. I'm an EMT.
Detective Howard, in that video we heard the defendant say that he does not have any non-lethal. Did you hear that?
Yes.
As a law enforcement officer, are you familiar with that term?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
So as a police officer, there are various options that we could have as non-lethal force. Our presence is a non-lethal force. Our verbal commands are non-lethal. And there's also some physical things we can do as well. We can go hands-on. We can use different instruments like OC spray. It's pepper spray. And we also have a taser, and we have an aspeton. Police officers in the city of Kenosha carry all those things.
A reporter with the Daily Caller named Richie McGinnis, whose testimony we'll hear a little later, was there live streaming that night too. He also interviewed Kyle.
What are you doing out here? Obviously, you're armed, and you're in front of this business we saw burning last night, so what's up?
So people are getting injured, and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
And what about these other folks? Obviously, there's some other people who are armed as well.
Their job is to protect me.
Gotcha. And then what about these guys up on the roof?
Their job is to provide overwatch to protect me also.
Gotcha.
They're protecting everybody on the ground. We're protecting each other.
Understood. And
we're running medical, and we're going in, and we're getting people.
And what about, are you from the area?
I am from the area.
What brought you out here tonight? You just wanted to provide medical attention?
Provide medical attention to the people that need it. If somebody's injured, like, you get hurt, I'm grabbing you.
I'm getting hit with plenty of pepper balls, but
your eyes good?
As long as it's just bruises. Yeah, I got my mask. I'm good.
All right.
And have you encountered any issues yet thus far with law enforcement or anything like that?
We had a group earlier try to throw me and set a fire at the church. So we went to the church and we de-escalated the situation, telling them they need to leave or they will be detained and then arrested.
This church right over here?
That church right there. And we stopped the fire out all the way down at the school.
Wow. And what do you think it would have been different if the police had to try to stop them from setting the fire?
I feel like there would be a lot more casualties and a lot more people injured. So I think the police are fine where they're at and that let us run the medical because EMS is not coming in. This is considered a red zone to the EMS fire. They are not coming in.
Yeah.
So us citizens, we need to help each other. Me and him are out here running and seeing if people need medical attention.
But speaking of which, we need to go check, see if somebody got hurt again.
All right.
In the next video, in which prosecutors say Richie McGinnis is following Kyle, you can hear Kyle shouting, "Anyone need medical? Medics coming through."
Does anybody need medical? Does anybody need medical?
I think someone's got some medical weed, I'll tell you that.
Does anybody need medical?
A man Kyle approaches to see if they need medical responds that Kyle had just pointed his gun at him earlier and told him to get off of a car. "And now you're trying to do medical?" he asks. The next video, a video prosecutors said was filmed by Reg Incognito, shows the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum. The figures in the video are grainy, and it's dark out, making it difficult to see. Prosecutor Binger pointed out some parked cars and told the jury that's where the chase between Kyle and Joseph Rosenbaum began. You can see what looks like Kyle running with his gun, and behind him, also running, is Joseph. Joseph appears to throw something, a plastic bag of some sort, and then gunshots are heard. But it appears to have happened behind some cars, so it isn't exactly visible in this particular video.
Get back!
Shot him, man. Shot him. Shot him, man.
Joseph's feet can be seen laying on the ground. Richie McGinnis, the Daily Caller reporter, takes his shirt off and tends to him, while Kyle stands with his gun, watching. Kyle then turns and runs out of the camera's view. He appears to be on the phone and saying, "I just shot somebody." A crowd forms, and you can hear what sounds like a female yelling, "He shot him! He shot him!" Additional shots are then heard. The people in the crowd appear panicked, and a group of them can be seen carrying Joseph Rosenbaum to a car to take him to the hospital. There's absolute chaos as they put him in the back door still up, and drive away. The jury was then shown a second video prosecutors say shows the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum. Detective Howard testified that he heard 8 shots in the video. The first, he says, was from a man named Josh Zeminski. Josh is walking slowly southbound on Sheridan Road in front of CarSource. Joseph Rosenbaum is chasing Kyle in a southwest direction through the parking lot. Josh has a handgun in his right hand, and he raises his hand up in the air and fires off 1 shot. Kyle and Joseph are still running through the parking lot. Josh's gunshot happens behind them. Shortly thereafter, Kyle fires 4 shots and strikes Joseph all 4 times.
Now, as part of your work in this investigation, have you viewed this incident in numerous videos?
Yes.
Have you timed, using those videos, the gap in time between Mr. Zeminski's initial shot and the first of the defendant's 4 shots at Joseph Rosenbaum?
Yes, using a stopwatch, I estimated that time to be approximately 2.5 seconds.
Immediately after, and I use the word immediately, but in sequence after the 4 shots from the defendant that are shot at Mr. Rosenbaum, there is a sequence of 3 shots after that. Is that right?
Correct.
Those are not fired by the defendant.
Correct.
As best as you can tell in your investigation, where are those shots from, if you know?
I believe it to be coming from the area of 63rd Street, but it is hard to confirm that because we do not have good video available of that source of gunfire.
He said no one has ever been identified with regard to those shots, and they don't appear to be related to Joseph Rosenbaum or Kyle Rittenhouse. In another video shown to the jury, from just after the shooting of Joseph Rosenbaum, Kyle is running down the street, his gun still strapped to him. Someone yells, "Why did you shoot him? Why did you shoot him?" Kyle doesn't answer and continues running. Another man then catches up to him and starts running next to him, which Prosecutor Binger says is Gage Grosskreutz. "Stop him," someone else yells. "He shot him." More people start running after Kyle. This video is from a ways away, but then you can hear more shots being fired. People scramble, frantic to get out of the way. Another video was from BG on the scene. In this one, it's taken from a closer vantage point, but it's still hard to make out exactly what's happening. Running in from the right hand of the screen is a man with a skateboard. Prosecutor Binger identifies him as Anthony Huber. Anthony appears to swing at Kyle, but it's not clear if he connects or not. Kyle keeps running. Anthony drops his skateboard, picks it up again, and catches back up to Kyle. At some point, Kyle falls to the ground. Another man catches up to him and attempts to kick him in the head. It isn't clear in the video if he connects or not, but Kyle fires off 2 shots, neither of which strike the man. That man then runs away, and Anthony Huber approaches and hits Kyle with his skateboard. Kyle lifts up his gun and points it at him, firing 1 shot, hitting him in the chest. There's more movement. Kyle then fires again, hitting Gage Grosskreitz's right arm. Gage runs away. Kyle then gets up, walks a bit, and then turns around. Anthony Huber's body is laying on the ground now. Kyle walks backwards for a bit, still pointing his gun. Then he turns forward and keeps walking. Police cars pull up and Kyle runs towards them, putting his hands up. "He just shot them," someone yells. "Hey, the dude right here just shot them. He shot all of them down there." Kyle puts his hands up again, but the police cars drive past him. Detective Howard was asked if there was any indication that Joseph Rosenbaum had any weapon of any kind. He said no.
No gun?
I can only see a plastic bag that he's carrying.
So no gun?
No.
No knife?
No.
No bat?
No.
No club?
No.
On November 4th, 2021, the day in court started with the dismissal of a juror. According to news reports, one of the jurors said this to a deputy while being escorted to his car. Why did Kenosha police shoot Jacob Blake 7 times? They ran out of bullets. The deputy reported the comment to Judge Schroeder, and Prosecutor Binger argued it shows racial bias.
I will tell you that I've talked quite a bit about public confidence in the outcome of the trial, and regardless of whether the issue is as grave as you presented it in terms of inner feelings, it is clear that the appearance of bias is present, and it would seriously undermine the outcome of the case. So that in itself would be sufficient cause for discharge, but if you want to expand on that, you're welcome to.
No, Your Honor.
Judge Schroeder dismissed the juror. Richie McGinnis is the chief video director for the Daily Caller, which he said is a news website founded by Neil Patel and Tucker Carlson. After the shooting of Jacob Blake, he said he traveled to Kenosha to cover the events that were unfolding. He told the court what he witnessed in the nights leading up to the shootings.
Witnessed many cars being burned. I actually, Shelby recorded an interview with some of the individuals in front of, so there was the big car lot that was burned, but then there was the lot actually where the armed individuals were on the night of the shooting. We actually were in front of that business the night before, and Shelby recorded an interview where those individuals were, there were people who, I guess the owner of the business had asked people to go out and try to put out the fires. So she recorded an interview with individuals who were using a power washer, and there were other people using like buckets to try to put out fires with the cars.
He described walking up to one of the car source locations on the night of August 25th. He saw multiple individuals with guns, both on the ground and on the roof. He said he put his hands up and asked if they would be willing to do an interview about why they were there. Prosecutor Binger asked him about an interview he had given prior, where he said the armed men looked menacing.
I wouldn't say that that's, I would say menacing is not a bad word to describe it. I would say actually, like I said, the presence of weapons, just in my mind, elevates the level of risk.
He interviewed Kyle that night, which we heard during Detective Howard's testimony. He said he asked how old Kyle was and doesn't recall what he said, but it was a satisfactory answer to him. When asked if he would have interviewed him if he had known Kyle was only 17, he said he would have needed permission from his parents.
The defendant tells you that he is an EMT, is that right?
Yes.
Did he say anything else to you? It's a little hard to hear in the video as to what his qualifications were.
I believe he mentioned something about lifeguard certification.
In your experience at the various events that you've covered, similar to what was going on in Kenosha, Seattle, Portland, etc., have you seen other individuals who proclaim themselves to be medics or EMTs who are armed with AR-15s?
I don't recall any people who, I saw a lot of people who were medics, some of whom were armed, but not with an AR-15 that I recall.
He was asked about the point in his video where he's following Kyle down the street and Kyle approaches a group of men. One of those men remarks that earlier Kyle had pointed his gun at him and told him to get off of a car, and that now he was trying to play medic. Kyle walked away right away, but Richie stayed and talked to them.
Well, Kyle had told me my goal going into these protest zones is to tell the full picture, or our goal. After interviewing Kyle, or Mr. Rittenhouse, it was clear, what he thought his mission was there. But these individuals seemed to think differently. And so I wanted to hear what their opinion was on the matter, because that would be part of providing the complete picture.
And the individual in the yellow pants accused the defendant of pointing his AR-15 at that individual. Is that fair to say?
I believe he said, yes, something along the lines of, "You were waving the gun. You think you're in a movie."
He said a short time later, while he was still talking to those men, he saw Kyle running with a fire extinguisher in his hand. He thought it might be newsworthy, so he started jogging after him. He called his coworker, Shelby, as he ran, and told her something was about to go down.
Did you also feel that the defendant running with an AR-15 through this type of crowd could cause a problem?
In my mind, in that moment, I couldn't think of a situation that would necessitate somebody running through a public street with one of their hands occupied by a fire extinguisher and the other one occupied by a weapon, kind of serving dual roles there. It seemed to me, it's not the way that I was taught to handle a weapon in a public place.
He saw Kyle slow down, and he was about a half block away from him. He caught up to him, and Kyle started running again. He was then about 30 feet away.
And you described that the defendant then began running again.
Yes.
Was there any event that you perceived, that you heard or saw, that attracted your attention at the same time that the defendant started running?
There were a lot of people yelling.
Do you know what they were yelling?
There were a lot of screams. I heard like an N-word. You can hear in the video the friendly. But it was mostly just yelling. I didn't hear really anything decipherable.
He continued running after Kyle.
It was hard for me to see because, like I said, I was like 30 feet back at the time. But I could see a lot of yelling. I could hear a lot of yelling, and I could see there was a crowd of people in the street. And one individual, Mr. Rosenbaum, advancing towards Mr. Rittenhouse, as well as a couple of other individuals who were moving very quickly in the area. But it was hard for me to see because I was a little bit back, and it was dark.
What happened then?
Mr. Rosenbaum advanced towards Mr. Rittenhouse. Mr. Rittenhouse gave I think he maybe saw him coming and gave like kind of I said on the night of to police that it was like a juke, but it was more like just a pivot and a run.
Please continue. What happened after that, as far as you recall?
And then he pivoted and he ran towards this parking lot right here. So he was like right on the side of the street, and he ran towards this lot, and Mr. Rosenbaum ran after him, and I was behind both of them.
So the sequence of the folks that were involved in this running, as we've seen in many other videos, is Mr. Rittenhouse is in front, Mr. Rosenbaum is running after him, and you are behind Mr. Rosenbaum. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
How far back from Mr. Rosenbaum were you as the pursuit went through the Car Source parking lot?
Well, it's hard to say because I kind of caught up to them. I was running a bit faster, and so at the time initially I was probably 30 feet back when everybody first started running. But then by the time I arrived in the lot, it was 15 feet.
He said he saw Kyle turn around and then saw Joseph lunging for the front portion of Kyle's rifle.
Did you ever see a weapon on Mr. Rosenbaum?
I did not.
Never saw a gun on Mr. Rosenbaum?
I did not.
Never saw him have a knife?
Nope.
Never saw him have a club or a bat or a chain or anything like that?
I just saw the bag that was thrown. That was it.
As the chase is occurring in the Car Source parking lot, did you hear, and again, I want you to go back to that moment.
Yes.
We've seen other videos, we've heard other videos, so we have hindsight. But in that moment, As you are following the chase behind Mr. Rosenbaum, behind Mr. Rittenhouse, did you hear Mr. Rosenbaum say anything?
There was a FU. And at the time in that instance, my recollection of it the night of, it was really hard for me to decipher, whether that was who yelled that. After seeing the footage, it's very clear to me who yelled it.
Okay, let me stop. I don't want to. I want to. In that moment, I'm interested in your perceptions of the sounds around you. So I understand there's a lot going on, and it's a scene. But put yourself back in that moment. Do you recall hearing Joseph Rosenbaum say anything?
No.
Do you hear recall hearing the defendant?
I mean, I heard things said, but I don't recall it coming. Me perceiving it coming from him because, like for example, in that instance, there was a pop, and then when Mr. Rittenhouse turned around, my focus was purely on the barrel of the weapon and where that was going. So I didn't.
He was asked what was going through his mind at that moment. He said when Kyle turned around and Joseph continued to advance, that's when he realized they were going to collide. He said he became extremely worried because he was behind Joseph, and he felt like he would be caught in whatever was about to happen. He felt like he was in the line of fire, and so he altered his trajectory.
Did you feel that the defendant's actions of turning around and pointing the gun and discharging those rounds put you in danger?
I would say that given where I was, certainly I was in danger, yes.
He was asked if at any point he saw Joseph Rosenbaum touch Kyle's gun. He said it's hard for him to say, but they were extremely close, and if he did, it didn't alter the trajectory of the weapon. He said he was also behind Joseph, so he couldn't say definitively. Kyle fired 4 shots, and Joseph ended up face down on the ground. Richie said after those shots were fired, there were other shots. Kyle had run away, and Joseph was lying behind a car. Richie ran over to him, asked if he was okay, and flipped him over. He took his shirt off and wanted to apply pressure to any wounds he saw. Other people then came over. He helped carry Joseph across the street to a car so he could go to the hospital. He said he stayed at the hospital for a bit until the police told him to come to the police station. A squad car came to pick him up. He said after he helped load Joseph onto a gurney, he saw Gage Gross crates come in with an officer. He said his bicep was effectively gone and there was a lot of blood. It was surreal, he said. He said he felt scared about what was going to happen and what he would have to do. He became more worried when he realized his phone hadn't recorded what happened, so he would have to rely on what he had seen. On cross-examination, Richie got up from the stand and demonstrated what motions he saw Joseph Rosenbaum make, and said based on those motions, he believed he was trying to reach for the barrel of the gun. He was asked about a statement he made to detectives, where he said Kyle seemed very innocent when he interviewed him, almost too innocent for his own good.
I was alluding to the fact that it seemed to me that a lot of the people, protesters, rioters, whatever you want to call them, were casting negative looks in his direction, and he didn't seem to be aware of that.
He said as Kyle was running away, Joseph Rosenbaum was in pursuit. When Kyle stopped and turned around, he had entered an area where there was a car parked and a wall. Richie said it's conceivable that he could have continued, but that it seemed to him that he had entered a bit of a dead end. Kyle then turned and looked at Joseph. Joseph was running towards him, and then he said it appears he was lunging for the front part of the weapon. He was asked what the tone of Joseph's voice was as he yelled, "Fuck you." He said he sounded very angry. Although Joseph Rosenbaum was shot in the back, he said he never saw him turn away from Kyle. On redirect, Prosecutor Binger pointed out that it would be impossible for Richie to know what was going through Joseph Rosenbaum's mind.
I mean, you have no idea what Mr. Rosenbaum was ever thinking at any point in his life. You have never been inside his head. You never met him before. You don't know.
I've never exchanged words with him. If that's what your question is.
So your interpretation of what he was trying to do or what he was intending to do or anything along those lines is complete guesswork, isn't it?
Well, he said, fuck you, and then he reached for the weapon.
Ryan Balch was with Kyle Rittenhouse that night, protecting the car source parking lot. He testified that he has previously served in the U.S. Army and that he went to Kenosha that night from where he lived in Jackson, Wisconsin. He had never met Kyle or his friends prior to that night.
What were you actually intending to do physically? Like, what were you actually going to do when you got here to Kenosha?
The intent when we got down there was to stop the people from looting and rioting and whatnot. Most of the protesters that I talked to before coming down there were trying to control them throughout the night, and it just wasn't working. So we were there to be more of a deterrence than anything.
What were you going to do yourself, personally, to accomplish that goal?
Pretty much tell people to stop. Just be... throughout the night, it kind of proved out that we didn't have to actually do anything to not have them do it. Just us being there seemed to work. And that was kind of my intent the whole time, was to just be there, be seen, and to deter people from doing that.
If just being there was enough, why did you bring along an AR-15, a handgun, and wear body armor?
Well, because those people could be armed too. If I'm going to get shot, I'd rather have body armor on, first and foremost. And I would like to be able to defend myself from it as well.
So is it fair to say that coming down to Kenosha that night, you were prepared for the possibility that there would be gunfire?
That's correct.
You were prepared to use your gun to defend yourself?
That is correct.
Were you planning on using the gun to protect the property that you were guarding?
No.
He said Kyle seemed like a young and impressionable kid, meaning someone younger than himself. He said Kyle told him he was a certified EMT. As they were walking back and forth that night, he saw Kyle have one interaction with someone.
He had one exchange that I saw.
Who was that with?
Just some random person in the crowd screamed, "Fuck you."
At the defendant?
Yes.
How did the defendant react to that?
He said, "I love you too, ma'am."
He said he saw Joseph Rosenbaum that night with a male and female. When he first saw him, he said Joseph was getting aggravated with someone in the crowd. He said the protesters were trying to separate him from whoever that was. Joseph was yelling, "Fuck you" to everyone, and he said the tall guy who was with him had a gun in his hand, with his finger on the trigger, pointed down at the ground.
Now, you had an AR-15.
This is correct.
And you had your hand on the butt of that AR-15?
No.
At no point?
Hand on the grip with the fingers straight forward along the side of the receiver.
I misspoke when I said butt. I mean, the grip, the pistol grip of the AR-15, you had your hand on that with your finger not on the trigger, but within close proximity. Fair to say?
That is correct.
Okay. And this individual had a handgun.
Right.
With his finger on the trigger.
This is correct.
And that caused you to be concerned of some sort of what?
Well, you're typically taught not to put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to shoot. The way he was holding it, had anybody bumped into him or him tripped and fell, he would have been sending a round off into who knows what. So I just saw it as unsafe.
And the potential for some sort of tragic accident.
Correct, or he was prepared for something.
He said every time he encountered Joseph that night, he was hyper-aggressive and acting out in a violent manner, always having to be restrained by someone.
Did you ever see him hit anyone?
The crowd was pretty good about getting in between him and whoever it was. If he landed a blow, I didn't see it, but he definitely wanted to.
Well, now, you have no idea, do you, what was going on in Mr. Rosenbaum's head?
No.
You'd never met him before that night?
No.
Okay. So let's just keep to your observations if we can. Right. How tall are you?
5'9".
How tall was Mr. Rosenbaum?
5'4", 5'3".
So much shorter and smaller than you.
Yes.
Fair? Now, I know you want to talk about what you believe he was intending to do, but my question to you was, did you ever actually see him hit anyone?
No.
Did you ever actually see him kick anyone?
No.
Did you ever actually see him with a weapon in his hand?
No.
Did you ever actually see him cause any physical injury to anyone that night?
I saw him attempt to do it on a couple occasions, but I never saw him.
That was not my question, Mr. Balch. Did you ever... Excuse me?
It was my impression he was answering your question.
You'd agree with me?
Cross-examination.
Pardon me?
It's not cross-examination. He's supposed to ask open-ended questions. He was answering.
It was my impression that the witness had not completed his answer.
I apologize. I'll try to stop jumping in a little too soon, Mr. Balch. Did you ever see the defendant actually physically Mr. Rosenbaum? Did you ever actually see Mr. Rosenbaum physically injure anyone that night?
No.
He said at one point, Joseph tried to go after their friend, Dustin Collette, and then he threatened him and Kyle.
Tell us about that.
Colette had stopped him from starting something on fire. There's a video of it. And Dustin Collette said something to the effect of fuck around and find out. And I stepped in and told everybody, chill out, calm down, stop doing that. I turned and had an exchange with one of the protesters. And I kind of explained to that protester, hey, I get what you're trying to do, but not this. And when I turned around, Rosenbaum was right there in front of my face, yelling and screaming. And I said, dude, back up, just chill. I don't know what your problem is. And he goes, you know what? If I catch any of you guys alone tonight, I'm going to fucking kill you.
And he said that to you?
Correct.
Did he say that to the defendant as well?
The defendant was there, so yes.
And as far as you could tell, the defendant was close enough to hear what Mr. Rosenbaum said?
That is correct.
Now, when this conversation occurred, were you wearing your AR-15 slung in front of your body?
That is correct.
Did Mr. Rosenbaum ever reach for it?
He didn't try.
Did he touch it?
No.
You had your Glock pistol on your hip, correct?
That is correct.
Did he ever reach for that?
No.
Did he ever touch that?
No.
Did he ever touch you?
No.
And at that point, could you see that Mr. Rosenbaum had no weapons of any kind?
He had a bag full of what looked to be chemicals to me. In his hand, the guy with the Glock with a handgun behind him, and a female with a backpack. That was what I considered Rosenbaum having with him.
He said it was a clear bag with containers in it. He said he told the FBI that he thought it was a bag that had items in it to make a chemical bomb. Later, he saw that bag on the ground near where Joseph was shot. There seemed to be nothing nefarious in it. At one point, he said he saw Joseph start a street sign on fire and throw rocks at the 59th Street car source location. The rocks didn't hit anyone, but he felt like it was a danger to their safety. At another point in the night, he lost track of Kyle. He went into a gas station and realized Kyle was no longer behind him. He described hearing gunshots, and he ran towards where he had heard them, telling people to get down. More shooting then erupted behind him. After the shootings, he had no idea what happened, as he didn't see anything. As he was walking around, he saw their friend Jason Lakowski tending to gauge gross crates and wrapping his arm. He then saw Anthony Huber's body and rolled him over to check on him. He didn't feel a pulse. An armored law enforcement vehicle then pulled up and took him away. He stayed at the location for a while. One of the live streamers showed him a photo of the shooter, and he lied and said he didn't know him. Jason Lakowski is friends with Ryan Balch, and he too was there that night. He also served in the military, the Marines. Jason said he talked to a lot of people who were there that night to legitimately protest, and then there were people who were there trying to cause havoc, throwing things at police and starting fires. Some of them tried to come onto the property to start the cars on fire, and Jason said they were stopping them. He said the people had a lot to say that was not nice, and said they would come back and burn down the place. Later, he said they came back and threw rocks at them. When asked about Joseph Rosenbaum, he said Joseph was not one of those people. He met Kyle that night. Kyle introduced himself and said he was an EMT. He never said how old he was, but Jason assumed he was 18 since he was an EMT and was carrying a firearm. He only saw Joseph Rosenbaum once.
He had been, acting very belligerently. He had asked very bluntly to shoot him. He did a few what I would call false stepping, which is making a step to entice somebody to do something. He had done that a few times. After he'd done that a few times, I turned my back to him and ignored him.
What did you think of him?
A babbling idiot.
Did you consider him a threat?
No.
Did you feel that he posed any danger to you or anyone else?
No.
He said Joseph had something red over his face, wasn't wearing a shirt, and had a plastic bag in his hand. He recalled hearing gunfire while he was at the 59th Street car source location. He ran towards the gunshots. When he got to the corner of the lot, Kyle approached him.
How did the defendant appear to you?
Frazzled. In shock.
Did he have his weapon?
Yes.
Where do you know where he came from?
He ran from the car lot.
Were you still running at that point?
At that point, when I linked up with him, I stopped.
When you stopped, did you come in close proximity with the defendant?
Yes.
Did you say anything to him, if you recall?
I don't recall.
And I think you indicated earlier you don't remember what he said to you.
I do not.
Now, do you remember after this night speaking with the FBI?
Yes.
And that conversation occurred about a week later?
Yes.
And do you remember telling them what the defendant had said to you?
I remember telling them yes.
If I showed you a copy of that statement, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Okay.
I'm going to take that back from you now. Does that refresh your memory as to what you told the FBI?
Yes.
And does it refresh your memory as to what the defendant said to you when you encountered him?
He had indicated that he had shot somebody.
According to your statement, Mr. Lakowski, you're...
Sorry, did not shoot anybody. I apologize.
Okay.
I apologize.
Just want to make that clear.
Did not shoot anybody.
When the defendant spoke to you, he said he didn't shoot anyone.
Correct.
But he said he needed help.
Yes.
He said he told him to run to the police who were down the road. He then heard more gunshots. The next thing he remembers is being on the sidewalk and there was someone on the ground screaming. It was Gage Grosskreutz. He went over to him and there was a group of people there helping. Police showed up and told him to back off, so he did. Gage was put inside a vehicle. There was a pistol on the ground and he disarmed the gun. The police told him to put it down. He then headed back towards the car lot, where there were a bunch of reporters. He was asked when he first learned the shooter was Kyle, and he said he doesn't recall. While he was talking to the reporters, they were asking if he had done it. He said they were looking for a tall, white individual with an AR-15 wearing a green shirt. He said he was wearing that too. He didn't volunteer any info to anyone, even when he suspected it was Kyle. On cross, he said he told the FBI that Joseph Rosenbaum was, quote, one of the most aggressive people he encountered that night. Kyle's attorney, Corey Sharafasi, asked if Jason found a bullet in the chamber of the gun he recovered on the ground, which was Gage's. Jason said yes, the gun was ready to be fired. DNA in this case wasn't really helpful, not for the state nor for the defense. The state called Amber Rasmussen, who analyzes DNA for the state crime lab. She testified that on Kyle's gun, she found Kyle's DNA, and the profiles of both Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber were either excluded or the lab couldn't make a ruling on it because there wasn't enough of a DNA sample present. On cross, the defense showed a photo which they say shows Anthony Huber touching Kyle's gun. She said her results don't mean that someone couldn't have touched it. Sal Kindry testified that his dad owns CarSource and that he cried after seeing the burnt cars on Monday, August 24th. Prosecutor Binger asked if he ever asked anyone to protect the property, and he said no. He said he doesn't even work there, that he works in Milwaukee. His brother Sam testified that he never asked anyone to protect the property either. He acknowledged having received a text message from Kyle, whom he said he didn't know, offering to, but that he didn't see the message until the following day.
Did you talk to him about protecting or guarding either one of the CarSource's locations or Car Doctor?
I did not.
On Tuesday, August 25th, did you talk to anyone about guarding or protecting either of the CarSource locations or the Car Doctor?
I did not.
Officer Pep Moretti described coming across Kyle Rittenhouse that night after the shootings as police were arriving at the scene. He had no idea he was the shooter.
Did you think that that might be the person who could have been involved in the shooting?
At that point, no. In my prior experience in law enforcement, when somebody surrenders to us, they will generally put their hands up, but then they will take a further step and generally drop to their knees, or they will lay in a prone position and make some type of further action. They'll usually follow commands when they're attempting to surrender. I've never in my career had somebody put their hands up and continue to advance and disobey orders from us to not advance on us.
So this man we now know as Kyle Rittenhouse is approaching you. There's commands over the PA. There's commands being shouted. What's the next thing that happens?
He approached the passenger side of our patrol vehicle. With him disobeying the commands and being armed with a rifle like that, I drew my service weapon, and Officer Krieger deployed pepper spray because it became clear and obvious that he was not going to go away, that he continued to just advance on us and disobey commands.
He said police had been surrounded by armed people throughout the unrest. He had encountered more people who were armed than not that day.
The advice that my partner and I gave everybody that night was, if you're a supporter of us or you're here to try to help, go home. There's a curfew in place for a reason, and being out here is only causing more problems. It's harder to tell who's there to be a problem and who's not.
On the night of August 25th, 2020, 2 men were killed by Kyle Rittenhouse. That much is not in dispute. Kyle was charged with first-degree reckless homicide in the death of Joseph Rosenbaum and first-degree intentional homicide in the death of Anthony Huber. Kyle was also charged with first-degree recklessly endangering safety for firing shots at the unknown man who tried to kick him in the head, and for the shots that were fired at Richie McGinnis. But Kyle was also charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide for shooting Gage Grosskreutz in the arm. In Part 2, we'll hear from Gage directly, along with the rest of the prosecution's case, as well as the defense's case, which includes testimony from Kyle Rittenhouse.
Once I take that step back, I look over my shoulder and Mr. Rosenbaum was now running from my right side. And I was cornered from in front of me with Mr. Zeminski. And there were three people right there. That's where I run.
That's next week in part 2. And that's all for this episode. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.